Ordinarily, when you have one party control all three chambers of Congress, you switch 25 seats in the House of Representatives in any cycle. And that goes in both directions, Democrats and Republicans. And what happens is Americans tend to vote for change, and then they don't like it when they get it. So when you have one party control, like we have right now with the Republicans and President Trump in office, we've seen how the president galvanizes the Democratic base, gets turnout to go through the roof in a midterm election cycle. And so I very much expect what happened in 2018 to happen here again next November. And that's what Republicans will start to pivot to as we start next year.
Why are the Democrats winning in Omaha, San Antonio, and percolating in other areas as well?
That one was fascinating in Omaha as well. They've been trying to unseat the incumbent Republican for 4 straight cycles. So that came as, a huge thing to cheer for the Democratic Party. And they're going to continue to try to do that. I think Rahm Emanuel made some really good points over the weekend. He's obviously telegraphing that he might run for president, but have a targeted campaign. Go after individual seats and races that you think you can win with a well-known candidate in that particular district, however small it is, and whether it's in San Antonio or Nebraska, go for it.
Henrietta, we've seen some news coming out over the weekend from Los Angeles as it relates to immigration, deportations, and then protests, and then President ordering the National Guard into Los Angeles. How is all of this broader immigration policy from President Trump, which has been very effective from his perspective and very quick in terms of implementation, how's that playing on Capitol Hill and in D.C.?
I'm glad you asked. I was actually with some former members of Republican leadership at a conference we were all speaking at a few weeks back. And one of the remarks that really stuck with me was a sentiment from a former Speaker of the House, a Republican member, saying the trouble with the president's immigration agenda is that he was too successful too quickly. And it's interesting to look at the data. There's been complete shutoff of flow of migration at the southern border. And the president was just extraordinarily effective in getting his, close the borders tactics in place. And what that did, and we saw just before the situation in LA erupted, is that immigration had receded as a major focus of conversation on Capitol Hill. And we'd lost sight of the fact that this one big, beautiful bill includes $175 billion just for the Judiciary Committee, which is immigration enforcement, to roll out over the next couple of years. And I think what the dynamic in LA does is it shifts the narrative away from Medicaid cuts, Medicare cuts, SNAP cuts, the deficit increases, and positions it squarely where there is going to be a concerted focus and new legislation this week from the United States Senate Judiciary Committee on exactly these immigration issues. So it gives an opening for the president to revert back to something that he promised on the campaign trail, has already delivered, and now needs to resuscitate to remind voters that he in fact handled it, and now has to address another, dust up.
So where are we on this tax and spending bill, Henrietta? Obviously, the House has made its point, and now it's with the Senate. What's the timing, and kind of what are the big issues that we need to pay attention to?
Sure. This rest of this week, we're going to see 4 different committees roll out their respective packages. This is mostly going to be on the spending side. So as I mentioned, Judiciary gets to spend $175 billion. I believe they'll roll out their package on Wednesday or Thursday. And then next week, we'll get into the Senate Finance Committee, where the big heart of the package is. That's where the Medicaid cuts are and all the tax spending and most deficit financing. I think the bill passes the last week of July.